everything you hear about having children is true.
You mentioned your kids, your
Yeah.
wife, and obviously business, right?
Mhm.
So how do you carry all that without letting it crush you?
You can't put your faith in people.
Do you think being masculine has changed over the past 10 years?
If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. Stand by your word. Be able to stand by your morals, and having conviction and being able to be somebody that people can depend on.
Hey Terrance,
What's going on, Dom?
it's really nice to have you here on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, so for the listeners who don't know you, how would you describe yourself?
I describe myself as a worldly person, somebody that has a lot of experience on a lot of different things. I wouldn't be a specialist in one thing, but I've seen and done a lot. So also very humble, I think, and definitely tempered now. Able
Tempered.
to feel things out, absorb it before I react. I try not to allow myself to react with emotion, if you could say.
Yeah. So, well, for the listeners who don't know Terrance, right? You've got a big presence in gym, martial arts. You're a father of 4,
Yes.
and you are a medicinal cannabis facility owner.
Yes.
But where did your story begin?
Well, I was born and raised in the state of Minnesota. The city of St. Paul is where I was born, the Children's Hospital there. My parents were just 15 and 17. So my mom was 15, my dad was 17. So I come from a very blue collar background. Moved to a small suburb outside of the city. And my parents worked at a milk factory. And I graduated high school. It was hard for me.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy that kind of environment.
High school?
Public school.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distractions. I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Making friends and doing all the things but studying. So I kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So when it came time to pick what I was going to do afterwards, I was leaning either towards working or joining the military. So I ended up joining the military. I joined the Navy. I signed the papers in 2002 and left early 2003. So I signed the year I graduated and then left early 2003 for boot camp. I joined the Navy. Originally, I was supposed to go into the Air Force.
Okay.
But because of how my high school went, I had some underage drinking tickets. And I had a confrontation with the recruiter for the Air Force. And then to myself, I thought, this is a sign. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And I went to leave. And as I was leaving, the Navy guy was just coming to work and he had a box full of stuff. And I walked out and I was, saying bad words, and I was mad because they were leading me on that I'm getting in. They told me I was in, but then this guy, the recruiter for the Air Force, was really disrespectful to me. And I was like, I don't need that, in my life. So I went to leave. They share like an entrance because Minnesota is winter. So there's always entrances before you enter into stores or businesses.
Sign-ups, right?
Yeah. Where you can like dust off your feet and stuff. They share it. So the Air Force was in this room. The Navy was in this room. And he was just coming in as I was leaving. And I'm like cussing. I'm upset, and he's like, what's wrong? And I explained to him. He's like, that's it? He said, give me 5 minutes. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not doing this. I'm done, And he's like, just 5 minutes. Let me show you something. I'm like, okay. And we go in, sit down at his desk, and he pulls out this wooden box, sets it on the table, opens it up. He's like, this is me drinking in Puerto Rico. This is me drinking in China. This is me drinking in, he just keeps naming countries and showing him having a good time with his buddies. And he's like, with us, we don't care so much about those things. He's like, if you're looking to like have fun and build yourself at the same time, you can join the Navy. And I told him, well, I'm not a good swimmer. It's like, you don't have to be. You don't even have to go on boats. You can work on planes. So he convinced me. They're good salesmen. They're good salesmen. They get those.
So
jobs
how does
for a
the
reason.
Navy work in America? If you say you don't have to swim, you don't have to work.
Well, it depends on the job you pick. And he wasn't necessarily being honest.
Yeah.
I still was deployed on the ships. I went on the USS Abraham Lincoln twice, the Enterprise twice, and then the Lincoln once. So I did have to deploy, and I also had to take a swimming test.
Yeah.
While I was in boot camp. But he was right. I didn't have to live on the ship.
Yeah.
I worked on aircraft, so I would be stationed to a base.
Okay.
Yeah. So went to boot camp in 2003.
Where did you boot camp again?
It's Great Lakes, Illinois. Yep. They have the boot camp up there. Did my boot camp. Went to A school in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah.
And then got my orders. And my orders were to Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort, South Carolina. So I was very confused. They mixed me up with somebody else because I was in the Navy. I thought I'd be going to a Navy base.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened. There's 2 squadrons that were stationed on that air base that were Navy.
Oh, there's 2 squadrons for the Navy.
The Navy, yep. Yeah. The rest were all Marine squadrons.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is it's literally like 15 minutes from Marine Corps boot camp, their boot camp, Parris Island. So it's like a heavy Marine city, which was interesting, but had a lot of fun because I got to do a lot of my traveling. And those squadrons, they were always deployed. We never were on land. I think the longest we were on land was like 2 months while I was there for 2 years, nonstop.
Yeah.
Deployed,
yeah,
back to back.
You said you were deployed.
3 times.
Where were you deployed?
So I was deployed with the ships. So I was with the Abraham Lincoln and the USS Enterprise, twice on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
So yeah. So have to go out, and then while you're out there, we're stopping at different places, and you get to see places. Sometimes I'm only there for 2 or 3 days. Sometimes we get 5 days. I've been to Hong Kong, China, what's the other one? Kowloon, Shenzhen. I went to Naples, Italy, Rome, Italy.
Yeah.
Portsmouth. It's spelled Portsmouth.
Yeah.
But it's Portsmouth, England.
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
I was in London when Greece won the World Cup.
Oh,
it was insane. It was like 2005, I think, or 4. 2004, 2005.
It has to be 2000.
I was in London, and they had it on the big screen.
2006, I think.
One of those.
Yeah.
But it was on the big screen, and everybody was in the city. They also had a big, rainbow parade over that weekend. Yeah. So it was just like tons of people in the city, and it was a lot of fun getting out there. I really liked it until I tried the food. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. Yeah, I loved it. I don't know. I hear that like every time I say that, somebody from there tells me like, you got to go back, bro. We have seasoning now.
I'm from Germany, so it's fine. yeah, but I hear that all the time about England. Yeah.
But I was so excited. It was such a cool place. It has so much history. That's the thing with the U.S. is like, we don't have that much like history,
So long,
yeah. So seeing that much history was like really cool for me. I enjoyed it. I was having a lot of fun. Then we sat down. I was literally talking at the table with my buddies. I was like, man, I could live here. Everybody speaks the English. It's like America, but with a lot of history.
Yeah.
And then I ate the food. I was like, oh,
nah. Maybe not. Maybe find a different place. Yeah. So you said you traveled the entire world, right?
Yeah.
What brought you to Thailand? And why did this place become home for you?
Yeah. So once I finished the military, right? They wanted me to re-enlist. When I said that I gave the stipulation that only if I could get stationed overseas. And they wouldn't give me those orders. So I just respectfully declined to re-enlist. So then I made a list of all the places that I really loved when I went there, and I could see myself, setting up shop, being home, calling home, at least for a short period of time while I transitioned to getting out of the US. The US to me was just a different place. Once I started traveling, every time I went back, it didn't feel like the last time I was there, and started feeling less and less like home. And I just keep seeing like how more turmoil, and I see people going at each other for the smallest things. And it was just, it felt heavy to me, especially taking part in, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and trying to bring together in my head what all that is, and see how much people don't actually know about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I just needed to get away from there. So I made a list. Spain was at the top. Loved Spain. Unfortunately, the economy wasn't, I didn't think would be able to hold me up with a job after, because I was going to go to college. No matter where I went, I was going to go to college.
How old are you at this point?
I'm 40.
No, I mean at this point where you were debating this.
I think 24, 25, something like that. So I was going to finish my education because like 23. 23. Well, I got out of the military, and I did, I wanted to see how my school skills were, right? So I did a medical assistant program. It's a 1-year medical assistant program. You learn how to like take blood, give injections, do medical paperwork, and like all of that stuff. It was a 1-year program I did, and I did really well. And I felt like I could really focus now. And like after going through the military, school was easy, which it didn't feel that way through high school. I was so distracted with so many things.
Now, right?
Yeah. So then I was like, I could definitely finish college, but I didn't want to do it in the US. But I needed to do it with an American university. So I also had to pick countries that had American universities in them. Thailand had one. And it was kind of like the sign for me. And I was with my little brother, so it was cool because my little brother just started going to college. And so we were kind of starting at the same time. Like I had some credits, he had some credits, so we were almost at the same place, So we were just going through the different places, and I told him we're going to Thailand. And he's like, what? What is Thailand? I'm like, that was my reaction too, but don't worry about it. You'll love it,
Yeah.
So, we set out. We went to the university here. I don't know if I should say the name of it or not.
But where was it? In Thailand?
Well, it used to be in Hua Hin.
Yeah. So is this why you also came to Hua Hin in the first place?
Yeah, first place. Yep.
Right. Because of the
university,
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And me and my brother went to school there. It was a blast, He was younger when I left for the military, and then he went through his high school and stuff, grew up, and then did like a year or two of college, and then he transferred with me. So he's like growing up now, so I get to see my grown up little brother.
Yeah.
And we interacted on those terms, I was like 25, 26, something like that. By the time we started the school together, we're doing like projects together and stuff as partners and stuff. It was really cool, man. I enjoyed it. So went to school there, and then started working in Bangkok and building my life like that. So
what made you come back to Hua Hin?
Having a family. When I was here the first time, I was like, this is a really beautiful place, like a nice place to slow down at. I like to make like mental notes of things. Sometimes it's very random like that, right? You wouldn't think somebody, 25, 26, that's kind of out there really getting at it, is thinking about where they want to settle down at, But I looked at Hua Hin as like that, I saw it and I'm like, it's beautiful. Started having kids and I'm like, well, I still have things I have to do in Bangkok. So I can't go all the way away from Bangkok. But I know a little place that's close enough,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's how I ended up back out here.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a little bit about masculinity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside, you come off as this strong, big dude, right? Physically
Mm-hmm.
and presence-wise, obviously. But what does real strength mean to you?
I think conviction, you know, being able to say what you mean and mean what you say. If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. Stand by your word. Be able to stand by your morals, and having conviction and being able to be somebody that people can depend on. You know, it doesn't matter if you do sports or you don't do sports. You do, manly stuff or not. You know, just being able to be somebody that's reliable, somebody that can be depended on and trusted, you know, is real strength, you know, because people can see you, believe you, and move with you. You know, there's a lot of people that say a lot of things, and this is what I see a lot in business. People come to me and they want to sell you the world to make it a deal, and then you come to find out like it's not even 10% of what they were really talking about, you know, and by that point, it's just a waste of time, you know? So just having conviction and mean what you say and say what you mean.
Did this mentality come from the military or?
Man, I think it's from dealing with people,
Yeah.
you know?
Dealing with people in business or?
Yeah. Well, just in life too, you know? And something that, you know, my BJJ professor says a lot is he says, you know, you can't put your faith in people, you know. It's God, right? You can trust and love them, but if you put everything into a person, you're going to be let down, you know. So I leave some room for that. But just in general, being somebody that when you say something, you stand by it and you walk through it, even if it takes more from you than you thought it would. You said you were going to do that. You said you were going to be there. You said you were going to just do it, you know, and then you deal with whatever it is afterwards, but have that conviction, you know, that's strength. There's so many people that don't stand by their words, you know, just because there's always an easy excuse not to.
Since you've been like in this business industry for a while now, can you like usually tell from like a first meeting if a person that you're dealing with has conviction?
I think, yeah. Through a conversation. But I'm also like an energy person. I can get in the room with somebody, talk to them, and I can have a pretty good idea about them already, just by their energy, how they present themselves, the way they speak. You know, it's kind of judgmental, but I think you have to be in some way. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of people that'll waste your time.
Yeah.
You know.
No, yeah, that makes total sense. So you think energy also comes from, like you said, the way they present themselves, right? So basically, like body language is a big part of it, right? If they're like maybe self-assured about themselves.
Yeah, but you can be self-assured or pretend to be, right?
Yeah.
You can do the dance, but it's like there's just something about the truth, right? That will seep through, and they're overdoing it. They're not being genuine.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they're excited. That's what I mean by leaving leeway. Maybe he's just excited.
Yeah.
Let me sit down with him again. You know, and then I get the feel. Every time it's a little bit more understanding. I try not to be too quick to judge, but at the same time, you know.
Are you a person that usually gives like second chances to people?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah. But what about business?
I mean, yeah, it would depend on like what exactly happened.
Yeah.
But as long as you come with what you say you're coming with, I'm okay. You know, if you say you're going to do this, this, and this, I'm never going to overextend myself or put myself somewhere where I can't deliver.
Right.
So me and my wife had investors in the medicinal cannabis business before, right? And there's been some bumps in the road, whatever or not. I didn't allow that to affect those guys. I made sure, even if I had to take money from my own bank account, I paid them when I said I would, what I said I would.
Yeah.
You know? So it's having that conviction, making sure that you deliver on what you say.
Right.
You know, and it's hard because in business you can't predict it, right? But it's so easy to just say, "Oh, things didn't go the way I planned. Sorry, guys, all the money's gone." Right? But what does that make you look like?
Yeah.
You think somebody's ever going to trust you again? Somebody's ever going to give you? No. So, like I said, it depends, right? If it ended like that with those guys, you think they would be like, "Hey, man, love to do something with you again when it's time." No, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So it depends on the situation. It really does. If maybe they had a interpretation of something, or they assumed something that we didn't cover somehow. But for me now, I like to have everything on paper. You know, I love the handshakes, but too many of those have gotten me into too many like circling around situations. Okay, I believe you. I like you if I'm shaking your hand. That means I like you enough, right? But let's get it on paper. Just so it's clear in 6 months from now or a year from now, it's still the same as today.
You've mentioned your kids, your wife, and obviously business, right? So how do you carry all that without letting it crush you?
Yeah, definitely not alone, man. You need to have a good team around you, people you trust. You know, it starts with my wife. You know, she believed in me in times when maybe, you know, I even doubted myself, you know. And if you don't have that, you know, if you're an entrepreneur on your own, you know, you can get out there and grind and hustle. And there's plenty of people that have been successful and single. For me, having my wife was pivotal. It was so important. And it helped me through those areas where I would question myself, question what I was doing. And she supported me. We built a team together, you know, working in Thailand. I speak pretty decent Thai, but not good enough to do all the things we've done. You know, she's definitely leading this thing, you know, and pushing while I'm trying to support, give good ideas, help with direction, plan out the business, but they're taking care of all the stuff in motion, you know? Yeah. So having a strong team is great. And then being able to take yourself from your work. You know, a lot of people, once they start moving, it's like the only thing they can think about, you know? And I think that's not that good, you know, especially if you're already having a family, you have kids, they need your time. They need your time. So once you're starting to, you know, and we built them both basically simultaneously, side by side.
The family and the business.
Yeah. So they both were growing at the same time. So it is difficult to balance. And sometimes you lack, but it's about being able to step out, look in, make adjustments. Step out, look in, make adjustments.
Trial and error.
Yep. Keep finding ways to balance, you know, but and just making sure you give them priority. You know, time goes by so fast. They grow so fast. You know, if you're like, oh, in 5 years, I'll be able to spend all the time I want with them. You know, that's too late. Yeah, that's too late. So everything's different then.
So you balance it pretty well.
You have to. Yeah. You have to. And it's part of having, you know, my wife will tell me, you know, hey, you know, I know this thing's going on, but your daughter's wanted you to, you know, play cooking with her. So I'm, you know, okay, I'm over there at the little cooking play set, you know, she might be putting something in my hair or whatever, you know, but you have to just leave everything away and take that time to really focus in on them and do the things they want to, you know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Do you think being masculine has changed over the past 10 years?
Yeah, I think it has some of the same foundations, but there's a lot of exaggeration now, and I think faking the funk. I think 10 years ago you didn't have to like put it out there. You just lived that life, right? And those are the people you look at and like, oh wow, he's there every day, grinding, and not having to like put it on blast and talk about every little thing that he's doing, right? But that's kind of how social media has started to pull out, all the good things and kind of create a bad side to them as well. So I do think it's changed, but I still think that there's people that live the same, that live the same as 10 years ago and even before that, the definition of masculinity.
You mentioned exaggerate masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Just people, they sell programs and stuff to like try to teach people masculinity.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that if you just look inside, you can figure it out, when they're trying to sell programs and like, if you act like this is how you get girls. This is how you do that. I think it's not good. I think it's not good. I think there's ways you can, and I don't think masculinity is defined by an overabundance of, a lifestyle that is not good for the soul.
Yeah.
I think that's the opposite, actually.
So you mentioned like programs, courses of guys saying like, oh, this is how you can get more girls, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't categorize that as being more masculine, right?
No.
So what, can you just explain to me what is masculinity for you?
I think it's being able to, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Challenge yourself. It doesn't have anything to do me going and trying to like bully somebody or start a fight because they looked at me. This is not manly. This is insecure.
Yeah.
That's insecurity and maybe some mental health problems, like, wow, you care that much about this guy looking at you, like calm down, buddy. It's more about learning how to be a provider, protector, someone that can be strong when you have to, but also soft and somebody that can tell those signs when they see that, when they're supposed to turn that on and off, controlling emotion. So that's something that I talked about right at the beginning, right? I learned how to control my emotions, take time to think before I react. That's how I would define it. Yeah.
Let's talk about fatherhood and marriage, right? You've mentioned you have kids, right?
4.
Yeah, and you've been married for 9 years now.
Yep.
Have 4 beautiful kids, right? What's the part of fatherhood no one warns you about?
I think everything's out there, I think it's all out there. There's tons of like Instagram stuff, but I think you can't understand it. Like you hear it, right? Time goes by so fast. Oh, sometimes it can be so crazy, or like, they grow up so fast, right? You hear these things, but then once you have children, it's like you watch it in real time and you're like, it feels like it's running away from you, So yeah, I think everything you hear about having children is true. Like it is hard. It challenges your relationship. It, it tests your patience. It brings out, maybe some of the things of your character that, you didn't think were a problem until you see it in motion and you're like, wait, I don't want to be that guy. You see parts of your parents, and how they treated you or reacted to you or dealt with you. You see that coming out, and it's just you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about yourself through
What do
parenting.
you think is like the biggest challenge that you faced being a father?
Biggest challenge I face being a father.
Because you mentioned challenges, right?
For me, I try to be a little bit better every day, you know? And some days you just got stuff to do, right? But it's like I try to take the time to think of something small and simple I can do to make sure they understand. Like I'm taking the time to think about them and invest in them, you know? So it's like a little bit better every day, a little bit better every day. How do I add to this? How do I add to this? Because it's so easy to get into a flow and then just like time goes by, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how, with challenging myself to be a little bit better every day, do something more, do something more, do a little bit more, do a little bit more.
What has been the most rewarding part of being a father?
Man, I think what it's done with me and my wife's relationship. You know, we were always close, and I think, you know, we took each other very seriously, and we had a good relationship. But once we started having kids, like it got more real, and we were able to communicate a lot better. You know, I think that's, yeah.
Yeah. You see, like in my generation, mostly nobody wants to have kids anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe mostly one.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? Do you think that's a huge mistake?
I understand it. You
Okay.
know, I understand it because it looks really difficult, you know, and it's hard to break free of the system, right? And now the system isn't doing enough for even like what they would consider middle class, right? Like both parents have to work. This is not something that is typical in humanity. You know, this is very like after the Industrial Revolution, and then they just keep pinching the middle class, keep pinching the middle class. And now before you know it, you know, two people with a full-time job still can't even afford a home.
Mm-hmm.
And that is scary, you know. But, you know, if it's something that you strive for, you know, I would say start building yourself slowly, like building this podcast. You're taking chances to be an entrepreneur, learn how to build something. Before I had any successful business, I had a bunch of bad ideas.
Yeah.
And stuff that didn't stick, and stuff that didn't work, and then some stuff that almost worked, and then some stuff that kind of worked, you know, and then some stuff that substituted my income, and then some stuff, you know. And as I was doing that, and I was just working a regular job and working with people that do too, they'd listen to me and they'd be like, why are you doing that? You know, it's never going to work. That's never going to work. But it's not about that thing.
Yeah.
You're already building some more. That's what I tell people. You learn something new with everything that you try to do. Even if you don't succeed with it, you learn something, and somehow it always crosses over. You go, oh, it's like a light bulb. Boom. Oh, I already did that with this thing. And now you get a little bit further with this one.
Yeah.
You know, and then that kind of dissipates. You know, of course you push until you see like, okay, it's dead. Like it won't walk anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And then you look at something else, right? You kind of like down a little bit. And then you start to feel better. You start to come up with new ideas, and oh wait, meet somebody, and okay, here we go. Here's a new thing. And then you can take this and, you know, use it into that. So just keep striving for those things while keeping in mind that, you know, you want to have a family and you want to be able to raise them comfortably. You know, bringing kids into a world without having stuff is, you know, it's not the end of the world, but I think it's a lot harder than people make it out to be. You know, like, oh, everything will be okay, but it's hard because then you feed those children into the systems because you have no choice, because that's what those systems are there for. People that can't afford to, you know, send their kids to private school or homeschool them and stuff like that, right? So, yeah, it's hard. It is hard, but I encourage people to to, if they want to have children, do it. It's the best thing that has happened to me is having children.
That would have been my next question, actually.
Yeah.
Like, would you consider it like the best choice you've
It's a
made?
blessing. Yeah. It's brought me closer to God. It's brought me and my wife closer together. It's really put a focus in my head and helped me understand, I come from not a lot, so I always wanted stuff.
Yeah.
And I started getting stuff, and it doesn't, you don't feel full, you don't feel full once you get those Louis V shoes or something like that. You don't feel full. You just start looking at the next pair, or the next big, what's the next upgrade? Okay, got the shoes, now I need the backpack, or, and you're just chasing that. And it's no longer there for me for that. Now it's like not just having money or things for my kids, but knowledge, development, understanding. I want my son to be able to run a business, confidently. So what do? I have him work with me, or at least sit in meetings. He'll sit while I'm in a meeting. I tell him, just listen, don't talk, but think of 3 questions you want to ask me from this call. And I'll go through the call, and he'll ask me questions afterwards, whether it's to define a word or what does this mean? How does that work? Where's that at? But it's keeping them involved in it and making it like natural for them. Me starting a business, I didn't know what to do. I was so confused, and it took many trial and error for me to finally get there. I feel like it's people's responsibility to share that.
Yeah.
And that's, why you see, I'm so supportive of people that I see around me that I like. They're good people. I'm like, man, just let me know what you need. I'm there. I'll help, because I think it's hard to find success out there on your own, and when you do, it's almost like an obligation to give back and help other people out.
They always say your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
So that is really true. And I really like that you already incorporate your son in your business decisions. Not decisions, but like in your business.
Sometimes
life.
Though too.
Yeah.
I've like put so this guy says this and this. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and you'd be surprised at his answers. He remembers things along the way. 7.
Okay. Yeah.
He remembers things along the way. So he'll be like, well, Dad, if this, then what does that mean about this? So he has an understanding already of how it works and the impact some decisions will have.
Yeah.
Right? So when you think, oh, he's too young, he doesn't need to be involved in this. I don't ever look that way, whether it's about religion, relationships, business. There's always something for them to learn. Even if they don't take the whole thing, there's always something for them to learn.
Something is always better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people grow up knowing nothing.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did. Perfect example, right?
Yeah.
So that's really, really good.
Yeah.
Now, but talking about, again, being a dad, what's the difference, being present and just being around?
Yeah, I think that's a big issue these days, especially once people get a little bit of money, they get nannies, they get, all this stuff, and they think like, if I'm here, that's enough, but they can take care of them, right? And I'll just make sure they're doing it right while I'm on my phone or I'm, and what happens there is I think the kids have a hard time with relating to their parents at some point in time. There's so many conversations I've had with my son that I see just stick, and man, it makes me feel the most full and accomplished, more than any business decision I've made, more than any crazy investment I made that ended up working out, more than any of that stuff is like when I give something to my son or my daughters that I see that they're going to keep that. We sit and we talk about God, and then I watch them pray at night by themselves, without even having to tell them. and it's like I can see them, like their whole body changes, and they lay down with a smile on their face, and it's like they feel that like comfort and that almost like force field around them. And I wasn't brought up in that, you know.
You wasn't.
So
You
no,
weren't
no,
brought
no,
up
no,
religious.
no.
So how did that start with you?
Man, I heard something one time, and it really stuck with me. You know, my parents were young, super young, so they also had, you know, rough upbringings and a hard time. And they're still kids, raising kids, you know. So my dad had tempers, and you know, say things he shouldn't say around me. And you know, it was one of that I can never forget. Is when you say, when you're dead, you're dead. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
It's just black. There's nothing. It's over. And it just seems so hard to take in, you know, like, wow. So what's the point of doing anything then, right? Or being anybody, or striving to be a good person if there's no point, you know? So that stuck with me. And then as I got older and I was trying to, you know, put everything together, I heard somebody say one time, he said, you know, people don't like to pray when they're doing bad, you know. They go out and they drink, they go out and they smoke, they're promiscuous, they're doing stuff that they know they shouldn't be. But you can't hide it from God. He sees you. He sees everything you do. So when you're weak like that, pray, you know. And he said he'll show himself in your life. So I was like, well, you know, what will it hurt? I've always been curious about religion and God and how it works. And things would happen and I'd be like, that's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence, you know, and I'd play it off as that. But I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I believe everything happens for a reason, you know, and you should try to take what is from that, you know, and move forward with that. So once he said that, I started praying, you know. I always felt like, oh, I'm not good enough to pray. I'm not good enough to be in a church, or, you know, like I'm still too out here to go in there, you know.
I saw this really amazing quote from this podcast that I watched from George Jenko. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah.
He's like this Christian podcast.
Yeah.
And he also talked about exactly what you just talked about, right? And he said, you don't go into a shower when you're clean, right? You go in the shower when you're dirty.
Exactly.
Same with the church.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really like that you actually mentioned that.
Yeah. No, that was actually a huge factor in, you know, strengthening my religious beliefs and knowing, like, inside, like, I prayed on it. I'm like, do I teach my kids about this stuff? Because it can feel dark, you know, about life, death, God, you know, hell, heaven, dying. You know, those are all things that as a kid, like, you're learning about them, and it can be pretty heavy sometimes. But I feel like we went through all that with my two oldest, and it's very successful.
What's the biggest lesson your kids have taught you?
Patience.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you need to teach them everything, you know? You need to teach them everything. And it takes time to do the things, you know? And if you don't have patience, they won't either. If you give up on something, they will too. And then they'll be that way for the rest of their life, you know? So something that's important to me, when I start to teach my children something, I don't stop until they know how to do it, you know? Even if it takes, okay, so I'm not going to just drill them, you know, for 6 hours. You're going to learn to ride this bike, or you're going to die on this bike. You know, I won't do that. But it'll be like, okay, from now on, every day, we wake up, we go on this walk, we're going to ride this bike until you can take it yourself, right? And then, you know, we've accomplished what we're trying to accomplish. But you're going to take that bike, you're going to take your falls, we're going to go out there and we're going to try until we get it, you know? And then once those things start to click, they can do anything, man. They can do anything. So just being patient and not allowing yourself to get frustrated, you know? You don't remember how long it took you to, first ride a bike or tie your shoes or, any of that stuff. So you just have to be patient, work through it, and then they'll get it. And then they'll know that for the rest of their life, and they'll be able to attribute that to you and your dedication and patience with them,
Talking about patience, we live in a world full of distractions now, right? We have social media and everything. And how do you protect your marriage of 9 years, of all of this distraction that we have in our life, in a society that actually glorifies distraction?
They do. And the scarier part of that, I think, is that not only do they glorify a distraction, but they can't wait to rip someone down, man. Yeah. They're just waiting for that. Do something stupid. Type it something stupid. Something. Just give them something, and then they can't wait to rip you down. So, and to be honest with you, I'd say it's easier access to distraction now, but the distractions have always been there. And that's part of where I struggled a lot coming up, and why I didn't have a lot of successful relationships before I got married, and it was kind of coming to like a point where before I got into this relationship, I kind of like, okay, I just need to put myself together, because at that time I'm thinking, I see the person I'm dating and I see the mood they're in, and I'm like, how am I having this effect? And it seems to be like over and over. And I work hard. I do a lot of things right, but I can't seem to get the relationship stuff right, And I thought I need to evaluate myself and how I move and how I interact with people. So sometimes it's not about being right, the message, it's about how you deliver it, right? And before I would think, if I'm right, I say it how I want to. And if they don't hear it, then I say it louder, and it's just not how you deal with people, It's so important to have that patience, be able to just stay calm, deal with things, and then be able to like negotiate, understand, even if you're like, I think this is wrong, sometimes you just got to go with it. Let it play out, let it play out. As far as staying away from the distractions, I keep myself busy, anytime I have time for something, I'm going to spend it with my kids. I do, martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. My son does too. 4 hours out of my day is at that place, just working on building ourselves stronger mentally and physically, so I keep myself away from a lot of that stuff. I don't follow people I don't know. I don't, on social media, I don't look for a bunch of follows. I make sure that the people I hire are qualified for the job, not just, people that I enjoy conversation with, or I think, whatever. I base it on, what I need for that position. You have to look for it everywhere, because there's always something. There's always a test. And it comes. There's something good coming, but there's going to be a test. And if you think you can just slip away and do something and then get back and everything's going to be the same, it's not, there's always a test. So just stay focused,
Focus, yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned that you take your son to jiu-jitsu as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for you to not just train a son, but also a fighter?
Yeah. So, if he didn't enjoy the fight source, I wouldn't push him to do it, but he really enjoys it. Like, I would bring my daughter too, Micah, but she's 4 and she doesn't like to be sweaty, and she don't like sand. She has her things. So for me, she wants to take art class, so we take her to art class. I'd love to get her in jiu-jitsu, but if she doesn't want to, I understand. For my son, he's the eldest. He's my son. I want him to be able to be dangerous but humble. He's the most polite kid you'll ever meet. You know, he always uses his manners. He speaks nicely. He's great with other kids. But he also loves to scrap, you know. He trained Muay Thai long before he started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So the kid loves to scrap, win or lose. He just loves a good scrap, you know. He's out there, you know, getting choked out and stuff, and he's laughing and having a good time, looking for the next round, you know. So, yeah, I'm encouraging for my children. They want to do something, I'm going to give them everything they need to be good at it and learn as much as they can about it, you know. And I'm going to be right there. My daughter wants to draw, you know, teddy bears. I'm going to be there with her, trying to draw the teddy bears, you know, if that's what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Just supportive. Yeah.
You've powerlifted before, right? You've also boxed, and you've had a lot of experience in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? What connects all of them for you?
I think what I said earlier, being able to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know, they're all hard. It's all easy to make an excuse not to do it.
Yeah.
You know, discipline, commitment, you know, being able to push yourself a little bit every day, a little bit every day. You know, that's kind of the mentality I have with a lot of things that I do. It's hard, but just a little bit more today than yesterday, a little bit more today than yesterday, a little bit more today than yesterday. And this is also, they all link together. This is also how you keep yourself from those distractions, right? Because that's where a lot of people find comfort, right? Maybe life's not going well. They see they're gaining weight. They see they're getting out of shape. They see that their old injuries are coming back and, oh, maybe I can't do this anymore, right? Then they go into their phone and they're in there scrolling, liking, you know, looking for whatever it is that takes them away from those things that, you know, are bothering them. I think the best thing to do is face it. You know, if you have an injury, heal it, but don't stop working. Work around it, work with it, but don't stop working. You know, keep going.
What separates a casual lifter from a disciplined man? You know, because a lot of people, you know, they go to the gym and they say they're disciplined, right? I mean, you've probably seen it. You've talked about it, social media and everything. What separates these casual lifters as you go to the gym and call themselves disciplined to an actual disciplined man?
I think dedication, time. You know, you can't say you're disciplined and only do something for 2 months. You know, you need to be on it, and it needs to show in time invested. You know, it's like with, you know, my black belt. And I know a few black belts, and it's the same. There is no shortcut or substitute for the time they have on the mat. You'll see guys that are good at these sports, you know, and they excel really fast. But then they get in there with somebody like that, and it's just a different language, bro. You know?
Yeah.
There's no substitute for time and commitment, you know, every day doing those things with that mentality, a little bit better every day, a little bit better every day.
Let me be real with you. If you're still thinking about learning a new language or skill, you're already behind. Preply gives you zero excuses.
I've been a tutor myself on Preply for a year now. I teach German, right? And I've helped students go from basic phrases to confidently speaking in real conversations. But it's not just about me. Preply has over 50,000 tutors across 180 plus subjects from English, Spanish, French, Japanese to business skills, test prep, and more. Right now, I've partnered with Preply to hook you up with a 30% discount on your first lesson. Okay? Click the link in the description and you will see it instantly. Dominick sent you a 30% discount. choose any tutor, any subject, and book a time that fits your life. Even if it's just a 20-minute trial. And if you're not satisfied, you can switch tutors, no extra charge. So if you're serious about leveling up your skills today, then click the link right now. Claim your discount and start learning something that actually moves your life forward today.
Let's talk Off Hype Labz.
Mm-hmm.
How did it start, and what sets it apart from all the rest in the cannabis industry?
Man, so Off Hype Labz is actually a trademark company. It's a trademark under our company. The company is Made Medical. So it started with me finding out that cannabis was coming to Thailand. I missed the whole US thing. But what I did do is learn a lot from watching it from afar, you know, about the medical benefits from cannabis, you know. And when I found out that it was coming to Thailand, I wanted to be a part of it, but I wanted to be part of it in the right way. So I started reaching out to people in the US in areas that I knew. Like I was in the military with my boy Christian, and man, he's one of my aces, you know, like always there for me. And I know if I ask him to do something, he's going to do it. If he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. So I told him I need to know like top 3 to 5 growers in Colorado. He's like, okay, I got you. I know what to do. He went to a laboratory. There's only a few laboratories that did the testing for all the cannabis products in Colorado. And they gave him one name. He asked for like 3 to 5. They gave him one name. They said, you can convince this guy, you're good to go, you know? Yeah. So he called him and talked to him first and sent him to me. It was Taylor. You met Taylor.
Yeah.
Super cool guy, man. And we hit it off from the beginning and built a really strong friendship. So I think that's the coolest part about it, because it was still really early. They did not unlock the cannabis industry yet. So it was still before you could do any cannabis in Thailand. I met Taylor and we started building a relationship. And as he started doing the research and finding out it's getting closer and closer, he came out here. We spent some time together. So we really created a close bond, you know, and I think that's what helped really with separating us on everything, from how we picked the strains, our phenos, our designs, our marketing. You know, we really clicked on all this stuff. So we were able to put it all together, you know. So I think that's one way that makes us really different. One, we always had the intentions to be medicinal, you know. Sure, the recreational stuff is cool, whatever, you know, but we wanted to help people. So with that, we treated everything like we were dealing with medicine, you know, which is just different mentality. So we set up our facility that way. We have fun with our branding and stuff, but that's because we have a lot of cool ideas and we get along really well. So we bounce stuff off all crazy. We design a bunch of stuff, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I think those are the two main things that separate us. We, from the beginning, had the intentions to be a medicinal facility with the highest of quality. And two, we had a really good friendship, you know, that we built the company off of. And I think it shows through in everything that we do.
How's it being a family man in the cannabis industry? Do you get judged a lot for that?
I'm sure. But one thing I've learned is you can't spend a lot of time caring about what other people think of you.
Yeah. Have you ever heard any judgment directly or indirectly?
I mean, you know, I haven't like been the cleanest guy my whole life, you know. Yeah. So I'm used to some people liking me, some people don't. You know, I don't waste a lot of time, effort, or words to people that don't. Yeah. That's fine. I'm not your kind of guy. That's okay. You know?
Yeah.
And then I just go my own way. Yeah.
So what's the long game here with the medicinal cannabis? You know, is it about money? quality, or even legacy?
I mean, I think it's a bit of all of it. Legacy, I'm not so stuck on it being my name, right? But our brand is special.
Yeah.
We came up with it, me and Taylor, pitching it back and forth. And I feel like it's so fitting for us, even our little slogan, craft cult for cultivation and culture, right? So that's what the cult is. Cult, you think, oh God, no. It stands for craft culture and craft cultivation.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really cool. The brand, the legacy of the brand, like I'm about to get it tattooed over my heart, bro. So that's big on the legacy thing. Money, nobody wants to work for free, but I'm also not greedy. Part of what we do is, part of it was, hey man, you come, we do this together, and you're able to have portion of it. In the US, these companies are so big, it's hard to get residuals off of your work. So you go and you build these companies up and you just get a paycheck. And then when you're done, you're done. With this, I was like, it can be a part of you for as long as we can keep this thing going and doing well, So, it was money, legacy, and what was the third one? Money, legacy,
or quality, right?
Quality. Yeah. Well, it starts with that. You don't have anything if you don't have the quality. Your product, that's the one thing that I love the most about what we do is I'm willing to take my product and set it next to anybody's. Are we going to always be better? Maybe not, but the quality is always going to be there. It's like get into a fist fight. I can't ever say, oh, I'm going to win for sure. But I can say, you're going to remember me.
Yeah.
That's it. Even if I have to bite you, I don't care. You're going to remember me,
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, we can smoke everybody's flower. But you're not going to just squash us.
Yeah.
The quality is there and it's always going to be there. That's where we put our main focus.
Now that Thailand has basically moved to a pure medicinal law for the cannabis industry, that must be really good for you.
It is. I've been getting a lot of calls
from
people that I haven't heard from in like a year.
Yeah.
So
that's really good then, right?
Yeah.
So before it was recreational, that market was really fluctuated then.
Yeah, well, because they were allowing a lot of stuff that shouldn't have been going on. People don't understand the dangers of some of the things that they can add to these, plants and stuff. And it's just a very immature market, and people were getting away with stuff that they shouldn't have been able to. So for me, the regulation is, I think, a good thing. I think end of the day, people should know what they're putting into their body. We do it with food, we do it with skincare products. We label and make sure that there's nothing in there that can cause harm, right?
Yeah.
So we should do it with cannabis as well.
Off Hype was one of my sponsors during my fighting journey, and you've been there, during my fights, and now also with this podcast, right? What makes you show up for the people that you believe in?
Man, my heart is just genuine, and when I see somebody that's grinding, I can't help but to want to be a part of it, and just support. I don't, I'm not like, hey Dom, get me up on this, in the ring, or anything like that. But just showing hey man, I'll support you. I'll show up to your fight. I'll be in there screaming and cheering for you. That is enough for me, to be a part, to help push and give advice wherever I can to good people, man. And then you get up and who knows what the future holds in 10 years, who knows where we are, and what impact that has on you. So anywhere I can help people, there's a lot of things I do that I don't look for something back from. You know, I just think that's there and that happened and it just feels good. And for whatever reason, it might not be any more reason than that just happened, but there could be something that comes out of it after that too. You know, the residual, just doing good things for people. I think people don't pay enough attention to energy, right? So maybe they're just grumpy and, oh, this is just the way that I am. Yeah, but now you've impacted people with your energy, right? You've impacted people with your energy. And it's negative, right? So however it comes back, if you're only putting out that negative energy, what's going to come back? You know, what's going to come back? Negative energy. So I try to support good people, man. I mean, I do my due diligence with the people. I feel them out. And if I like them and they're trying to do something with their life, man, I want to help any way I can.
If you could sit your younger self down, what would be one advice that you would give him?
Buy Bitcoin.
Are you yourself invested in crypto?
Yeah. Since 2016.
2016.
Yeah.
So you would tell your younger self to invest in Bitcoin in 2008?
Yeah. Or there's plenty of ways to get it for free back then, right? Yeah. There's websites where you can go to and you just get free Bitcoin.
Playing games, right?
They had a website that literally was like a faucet, and every time you went to it, you got like, I think 5 Bitcoin. I
wonder what all those people did with the Bitcoin when it hit like maybe $100.
No, dude, even $8, bro. There's like saved messages of guys like, just hit $8, I'm cashing out, good luck, you know? So I mean, I'm not heavy on Bitcoin, but I'm invested in crypto pretty heavy, and I think there's a good future for crypto as well, and moving into digital financing, and this is just a new age of finance. So I feel like this is our Apple moment, kind of. Where we can make some money off of stuff like this. So it's exciting. But you said for life, what else? Life.
Yeah, just your younger self. What advice would you give him?
Man, I would talk about a lot of things. I would talk about God. Finding religion, but I don't know if I would listen. At that time, it's hard. Life's different.
I feel like with religion also, you can't be told to follow religion. You have to find it yourself.
It's true, man. It's true, because I've always had an interest, but nothing that threw me over the edge. And then I watched that one video and it all made sense to me. And I started testing it. I'm like, okay, here goes nothing.
I didn't grow up religious or anything, actually. Even when I was living in America, the family I lived with, they were Christian, right? And they would go to church sometimes. They'll bring me along to the Christmas and Easter, church. And I don't know, I kind of felt like, this is like too pushy. I don't really like this. I don't really like to be told what to do, especially that. But I think it happened in 2020, or 2021. It just happened by itself, where I got even more curious about it. Curious. I feel like when you're in a rough patch, it hits you the hardest.
So I'd go into that. I talk about how I treat people. I think I was raised with this with like what you would consider like a false sense of masculinity. A man is like this, a man is like this, a man can do this, a man don't have to ask for that, a man, so I thought I had to live that way, and it really caused issues with me in my life for a long time. And then when I wanted to get serious, I always wanted to have kids, but it was like I just was so worried I was like, how, like, I don't understand how, you know, somebody, I can do that with some, when I can't even like keep this person in good spirit. You know, I feel like I just cause stress, you know, and it's not being able to work with them, not understanding my delivery with things. You know, I'm an intense person, but even that, you have to be able to calm down,
Yeah.
you know, with the right, like I said, know when to be hard, know when to be soft, know when to, you know. So I would talk about stuff like that and kind of try to help guide me on, you know, the impact I have on other people's lives, you know.
Final question, Terrance.
Mm.
What do you want to be remembered for as a man?
You know, for me, I really don't care about like getting in the limelight. You know, even with this, you know, I do it to support you, man, because I've always had a lot of love for you, man. You know, so I do it to support you. For me, my best legacy is knowing that if my children hear my name, there's just a big smile on their face, you know, and that's all I want.
Terrance, it was such a pleasure to have you on. For real,
Yeah.
It was really, really nice.
Thanks, brother.
And I hope maybe we'll have you soon again, you know, maybe
Yeah,
in the
bro.
future for a second episode.
Let's do it.
But this was really, really amazing.
Likewise, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And I hope the listeners stayed all the way to the end and enjoyed it just as much as I did.
Yeah.
You know, and
Likewise.
if you did enjoy it, you know, leave a like, comment your favorite part of the episode, and always hit the subscribe button, right? And yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, brother.
I hope things are clearer now.